There are dozens of reasons to replace a car's engine. Sometimes it's for more power, other times to breathe new life into an otherwise deserving car. In my case, I put the wrong distributor in, and that wiped the cam bearings and sandblasted all of the sensitive underthings, turning an entire built Mustang into, well, yard art. And yes, while the Mustang is a bit of an acquired taste for me, I'm ready to try again. So today I'm showing you how to put a new engine in your car. That way you can pull your old car out of the weeds with a few buddies and make memories and history. We're going to lift the car up, drain the oil and the coolant. We're going to disconnect everything that we can. That way we can lift the motor out. In this car, it's really easy to just pull the engine and transmission together. So that's what we're going to do. Shouldn't be too hard. Let's get into it. The first step is to jack up your car. Make sure you're using a stable jacking point and jack stands, and the rear wheels are blocked off. That's a pretty sick 240 behind the Mustang here, and I don't want to change that. As a skilled mechanic, you want to start out with a socket that's 2 or 3 times smaller than the bolt you're working on, so people don't think it looks too easy. Eventually, you'll drain the oil carefully, and make sure you keep a clean floor so you can dump coolant all over it later. I'll pull the serpentine belt first, as it's in the way of pretty much everything on the front of the engine. Next, we remove the distributor and alternator while Jarrett compares the strength of his knuckles to the unforgiving Ford iron, or removes the header on the driver's side. As Jarrett headed over to the passenger side header, I finished the driver's side, which required the steering shaft to come off. We got the distributor out, got the coolant drained, the oil drained, the belt removed, and Jarrett is working on the exhaust. Hello! Basically, we're trying to take that off so we can take all the spark plugs out. These are the GT40 heads that like interfere with the headers. So we have to actually remove the header to remove the spark plug. Kind of a pain in the butt. These new heads are actually going to fix that problem too. Just going to keep going, removing wiring and things like that. We're going to set them over the fenders. Just kind of spread it all out. Quick and dirty. Yeah. Oh, there we go. The upper intake and throttle body are off. Alright, so Jarrett's working on the clutch cable. All we've got to do is the lower radiator hose and then probably pull the radiator just for the sake of it. Keep it nice.
We got some acid pouring all over my face.
Shut the Alright, the only thing we've got left is to disconnect the engine mount bolts, and then the engine sits on those, so that's why we need to get the engine kind of held up by the hoist before we pop those out, but we're about ready to go. Alright, so we're pretty much ready to pull the engine out. We are going to, we'll lift the engine with the hoist that's right here, and then we'll be able to get those bolts out. We should be able to just lift it right out. What was that? Engine pissing out. When you're pulling an engine, it's important to be safe. That's a lot of weight just hanging there. Use 2 or more straps or an engine leveler. Make sure you have at least 2 times the load capacity on each strap as well. This engine and transmission combination is about 500 pounds, so I've got 2 or more 1,000 pound straps. Always make sure you also have a second person there too, in case the worst should happen. The first thing you're doing is lifting the engine off the engine mounts here. This is a race car, so the mounts look different, but the theory is the same for any car. Make sure you lift and look over and over again to make sure you're not hitting or breaking anything. If you want to be extra careful, you can put an old blanket over the front or side of your car, so if the engine brushes against it, it doesn't hurt so bad. After everything's said and done, you can call your mom so she can tell you how proud of you she is. Basically what we want to do is move everything from this old engine right here over to this new engine. We've moved over the fuel rail. We're doing a few upgrades here as far as bigger injectors, a different intake, and this actually has better heads on it as well. So we're going to make a lot more power, but we cleaned everything up. You can use WD-40 and some just aluminum foil to get the rust off the chrome. Works really good for bumpers, valve covers, oil pans, whatever. Then we'll put the upper intake on. Now, when you're doing the intake here on this specific type of motor, this is our right here, and there's vacuum ports underneath. So you just want to be cognizant of which ones of those you're using. That way, once it's in, you don't have to get all crazy with trying to maneuver and make things fit. You know exactly where it goes. Now we're going to go ahead and throw flywheel, clutch on, and then the transmission. We're going to bolt all those down, do a final couple cleaning things, and then we'll be getting ready to throw this in there. On these Fords, the flywheel, it looks like it's just 6 bolts, but they're not evenly spaced. So make sure you kind of line them up, float it on there, and then we can rotate that around and we can see. And then that looks pretty lined up to me. We're trying to minimize anything going in here because there's grease in there. We don't want that brake cleaner breaking that down. Now, we're ready to put the clutch on, and I'm gonna show you how to do that the right way so you can actually just get your transmission on there instead of fighting it. This should be easy. It's designed to be easy on American cars. You German car people, comment below what kind of car you have, because if you have a German car, it might be a little more difficult. Mini Coopers even have like a little thing behind the flywheel, so you have to like disconnect and then rotate. It's a whole thing. We take our clutch here, turn the bolts in until they snug up all the way around, and then you'll just tighten up a little bit on each one as you go around, so you're actually sandwiching the clutch in there evenly. If you do it at an angle or you do it super hard on one side, you risk bending things, breaking things, stress cracks, and potentially having trouble getting your transmission in there in the first place. Cool. And now we still have that super thin, easy, and it can go all the way and seat in the bearing down in there, which means that this is basically an imitation of the input shaft from the transmission. So now we know that this is gonna go all the way in, super easy, and we don't need to worry about anything crazy. So we pop that out, throw it back in the toolbox, and we're ready to put that transmission on here. Let's go. All right, and, all right, hold on just a second. You can actually just get your transmission on there instead of fighting it. It should be easy. Rotate it. Nice. And it's on the pins. Nice. Cool.
When you're putting the engine in with the transmission, it's harder and easier than connecting the two inside of the vehicle. I prefer putting them in as a unit instead of wrestling with the transmission under the car to line it all up. Lift the engine up and over the grille of the car and get the transmission close to the hood, then angle the transmission down. Once that's done, get the tail shaft of the transmission lowered into the tunnel and start coming back. You can lower the engine down but lift the transmission at the same time so it doesn't hit the floor. This is a slow process. Then set the engine on the engine mounts first and get them finger tight. These mounts are pretty close to solid, so I had to slide the engine on the mounts to line up the transmission mount bolts underneath the car. Header bolts can be pretty annoying, but take your time and make sure you have a few ratchet and wrench options next to you, and loosely install the front and rear bolts first. This makes the rest of them much easier. Now, reinstall the alternator bracket. Once that's done, we can go ahead and install the alternator.
Now, installing an alternator is super duper easy. You've got pretty much 2 mounts, right? Top, bottom. This alternator here, some of them will use the base of the alternator and like push it in and out to tension. This setup here has a belt tensioner, and this is pretty darn simple. You got a long bolt and a short bolt. Now, these typically fit in here fairly tight, so that you can grab that hole, slide it all the way through, and then wiggle it around until it's threading perfect. This alternator is super easy to wire. This is a 3rd generation alternator, and this is a common conversion for these Foxbodies. So if you want to know how to put one of these in your Mustang, big block truck, or anything like that, any 1st gen or 2nd gen alternator can be replaced with this 3rd gen. It's much better, makes 130 amps, awesome. Link to that in the description below, but super duper easy. So we'll just plug in our main plug right here. All right, we are in the home stretch of things. We've got all of these to take care of. Let's go ahead, jump into them, and then we'll be able to get this bad girl started for the first time with her new engine. Let's go.
You know you left me lonely, I could tell them the whole story. It might take a couple hours, I've got time, let's get the chapter. How could I explain the situation? Man, it's so damn complicated. Where do I start, where do I end? I should go back to bed, I'm going back to all the basics. Teaching myself now how to erase it. It's like learning a whole new language, and I'm afraid, too scared to face it. I just want consistent clarity, but all my thoughts destroying me. Some peace of mind is all I need to give peace to all of my family. I can't go back to you, my friend. Don't even ask, don't play pretend. You think you are everything I need, but I gotta
We don't have enough space here. Do we take the throttle body off and then... Oof, that's gonna hit, literally. We can hammer the throttle body, or the valve cover down maybe. Don't really love that. These valve covers are kind of tall, so they're... You know what I'm just realizing? This valve cover is a low profile from a Lincoln, and it has an oil filler thing, which I need up front. Damn. I was about to say, I don't know if this valve cover will fit over these valves, but it did before. There's no, like, scuffing. Damn it. Well, yeah, I think we're gonna have to switch out for these other valve covers, but they'll work better. They'll fit with the intake. Oh, damn it. Okay. Well, no chrome for me. That's it. We even have an oil fill cap. All right, intake on, valve cover set, and got the throttle body cable connected. So, throttle cable. We got the PCV installed. Don't drop. Oh, there we go. Blink. Let me tell you, this oil pan bolt. Oh, maybe this one isn't as big as the old one was, but 15/16 is pretty big. Yeah. Always clean it up there as best you can. That way you know if it's leaking later.
I can't go back to you, my friend. Don't even ask, don't play pretend. You think you're everything I need, but I gotta
Putting coolant in is lame, so I'm gonna save you guys the trouble and done. Alright, so we plug in this guy.
I can't go back to you, my friend. Don't even ask, don't play pretend. Cause you think you are everything I need, but I gotta leave.
I don't know if the oil pressure gauge is working. Should be coming up there. Oh, there it goes. Took just a second. Okay, ignition, fuel. I think we're out of gas here, but yep, we're low on fuel. We're gonna have to. All right, go ahead. Cool. All right, well, it runs. We're a tooth off on the distributor, so do everything off. I did get shocked. Oh. First start, baby. Woo! We cranked it, baby.